Alright, what's up, everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today's video, there are about 10 games left in the NBA regular season. Some teams have 10, some teams have 11, even one team has 9 games left. We're coming down to the home stretch of the season, and there's still a lot of spots in the playoff race left to go. You know, some uncertainty, still some races for some spots. We're going to talk about all of that and what to prepare for the end of the season here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications as well, stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. Join the membership. If you want to know more about the membership, there's a video on my channel describing all of it. Link to my Twitter and TikTok, stuff like that in the description down below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So we're going to start out east with the playoff race. Starting the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics have already locked up the number 1 seed. We still have 10 games left to go, and they already have locked up number 1 at 57-15. They're probably going to win 60 games. They were on a 9-game win streak before they blew a 30-point lead to the Atlanta Hawks the other night. But the Celtics are still the Celtics. They're still the favorites. And yeah, they're locked in number 1, so we don't have to talk about them as much. Now we go to the 2 and 3 seed battle. And honestly, it's not even coming at 2 and 3 seed. It's coming a little bit more. Right now, the Milwaukee Bucks are sitting at number 2 at 46-26. They have a 2-game lead over the Cavaliers after the Cavs and the Bucks have kind of been fighting back and forth for the 2 spot. The Bucks have kind of taken that a little bit now. They did have a heartbreaking loss last night in double overtime to the LA Lakers, but they're sitting at number 2 right now with a decent schedule. So I have all the NBA's remaining strength of schedule pulled up. The Bucks have just outside the top 10 of hardest schedules. They still have to play the Celtics, the Thunder, the Pelicans, and Knicks, and the Magic twice. You know, but they look like they're probably going to be a 2 seed. They've been playing a lot better since coming back from All-Star break. And then you have the Cavaliers at 3 at 44-28. Still 2 games behind the Bucks, trying to get that 2 spot. But because they've been losing recently, Donovan Mitchell has not really been playing. Evan Mobley just came back the other day against the Hornets, but they've had a lot of injury problems. Max Strus is injured. They've had a lot of injury problems. And now, honestly, they're not even locked in the top 3. They're number 3 at 44-28. The good thing is they do have an easier schedule left. Their last 10 games, they have the 20th hardest schedule left. They still have to play the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Suns. So they still have to play some top Western Conference teams. They still have to play the Pacers, the Lakers, the Sixers. But then they have the Hornets twice, which they play tonight, the Hornets, and they play another game against the Hornets, and they play Memphis and Utah. So they have an easier schedule left to maybe stay at 3. But the New York Knicks are right there. The New York Knicks are only a half game behind the Cavaliers for that number 3 spot. The Knicks are sitting at 4 at 43-20. They've been playing a lot better recently. Jalen Brunson is back and playing really well. OG Anunoby, unfortunately, came back. Now he's out for some time again. We still don't know about Julius Randle, but the Knicks are getting healthier. Jalen Brunson has been balling. Guys like Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Miles McBride, Isaiah Hartenstein have been holding the fort down. And now they're not that far out from being in the top 3 in the Eastern Conference. You know, and you look at the remaining schedule they have. The Knicks have the 13th hardest schedule left, so about a decently average schedule left. They still have to play Boston, OKC, Milwaukee, Sacramento, Miami. But they also still have to play against San Antonio, Toronto, Brooklyn, and somehow they play the Bulls 3 more times. I was looking at schedules yesterday. The last 6 games of the season, 3 of those are going to be against the Bulls. So the Knicks and Bulls are going to have some battles going on. But the Knicks are right there, right behind the Cavaliers at the number 3 spot. And then you go to number 5. You have the Orlando Magic at 42-29. They're a game behind the Knicks for that 4 spot. And only a game and a half behind the Cavs for the number 3 spot. So the Magic, potentially, some craziness can happen. And the Magic could be right there. Right now, it's kind of, I guess, the 3 through 5 is, I guess, kind of fighting because the Bucks have a 2-game lead over them, and then the 6th seed is kind of a little behind the Magic. So right now, it's 3, 4, 5. Cleveland, New York, and Orlando kind of fighting for 3, 4, and 5. 2 of those teams are going to play each other in the first round. Then another team waiting for another team. But the Magic right now, they have the 15th hardest schedule left. So the Magic have the most average schedule left in the NBA in 11 games. They still play Milwaukee twice, which are going to be big games. They're going to play against the Clippers, the Pelicans, the Sixers, Warriors, and Rockets. I guess are hard games for them considering the schedule. But then they also have to play the Hornets, the Blazers, the Grizzlies, the Bulls. They came in the second half of the season with one of the easiest schedules left in the league, and they kind of are hitting their harder part of the easy schedule. But the Magic are right in there. And even if they don't get 3 and 4, they can kind of establish themselves as kind of in the top 5 or in the top 6 and be in the playoffs instead of the play-in, which is amazing. So that's that battle in the East. I think you have the play-in race in the East. The Pacers are kind of stuck in the middle at number 6. They're a little behind the Orlando Magic, about 2 games behind Orlando for that 5th spot. But they're also a game and a half above the play-in. So they're kind of stuck in the middle for now, but you know, they also could be a streaky team. So they gotta kind of they're the team. They only have 9 games left to play, and those 9 games, it's actually easy. They have the 16th easiest schedule left. They play OKC, they play Cleveland, which would be a big game, potential playoff preview. Then they play the Lakers and the Heat, which is going to be a big game as well against the Heat. And then they also play Toronto, Atlanta, Chicago, and they play Brooklyn twice. So they have an easier schedule. So maybe if they can win some of those games, lock in at that number 6 spot, maybe they could catch Orlando or New York, or if one of those teams have a bad end to the season. But Indiana's kind of 6-6. And then you have 7-8. The Heat and Sixers are tied for the 7-8 spot. The Heat have the tiebreaker right now over Philadelphia, but it's right there. The Heat have not been playing good basketball as of recently. Even though when Jimmy Butler came back, they had that thing against the Pelicans where they're like, we're gonna be better, and their offense has just been very horrible. This is not the same Miami Heat team. They've been very, very bad at 39-33. But the good thing going for the Miami and for Philly, actually for both of these teams, is that they both have very easy schedules. Miami has the second easiest schedule left in the NBA. The Sixers have the third easiest schedule left in the NBA. So, the good thing, both of these teams have easier schedules, and hopefully they can get something. For Miami, their games left, so they play New York, Dallas, Indiana, they play Philly, and they play Houston. And their easy games, they play Washington, Portland, Atlanta, and they play Toronto twice. So, that's good. And then for Philly, who are also 39-33, they've been playing not great without Joel Embiid, but they have won some games here and there. For Philly, they play OKC, the Clippers, Cleveland, Orlando, and Miami. So that Miami-Philly game, I don't know when exactly they play, but that's going to be a big game. And then their easy games, they play Detroit, San Antonio, Toronto, Memphis, Brooklyn. So both those teams have easier schedules left, and they're fighting against each other. So we'll see what happens with that 7-8 Miami-Philadelphia match. But then after that, you kind of got Bulls that's sitting at 9. They're 5 games behind the 8 seed, and they're only a game and a half above the 10 seed Atlanta Hawks. The Bulls are kind of in there, and the Hawks are in there. A game and a half behind the Bulls in the 9 spot, but also 5.5 games above the 11 spot. So the top 10 in the East is most likely like 98% locked in. These are going to be the 10 teams. It's just going to be about seeding. So again, recapping the Eastern Conference, what to look out for. Can the Bucks stay 2? The 3-4-5 matchup in the East, Cleveland, New York, and Orlando. And then the 7-8 Miami, Philadelphia, because that would be big if those teams stay 7 and 8 for home court advantage in the first playing game. So you got that. Then we go to the West, and the West is a lot more challenging. The 1 seed is still up for grabs. The Denver Nuggets right now are sitting at number 1 at 51-21. They've won 4 in a row. They're still at the number 1 spot. For Denver, they have the 18th hardest schedule left, so they have a pretty easier schedule. They still have to play Minnesota twice, which are going to be 2 very big games. They also still play the Clippers, Cleveland, and Phoenix for their hard games. And then for their easy games, they play Memphis, Utah, Atlanta, and they play San Antonio twice. So they have an easier schedule left. So we'll see what happens there. And then you have OKC still behind them, still only a half game behind Denver at 50-21. OKC, I think, holds the tiebreaker over Denver. So if it's a tie, OKC gets it. So OKC, has a really good chance of still getting 1. But the thing about Oklahoma City, too, is they have a hard schedule, though. Oklahoma City has the 6th hardest schedule left in the NBA. They have 11 games. Those 11 games, they still play Boston, Milwaukee, New York, Dallas, Phoenix, and Sacramento. So most of their games, they're still going to have to play really, really tough games. And then their easy games, they play San Antonio and Charlotte once. But Oklahoma City still has a tough schedule left. Still have to play teams like Boston, Milwaukee, New York, some of the top of the East, So we'll see where that goes. And then you have Minnesota. Fell back a little bit, but they're still only a game and a half behind number 1, Denver, and they're still a game behind OKC for their number 2 spot. So those teams right now are kind of locked in at 1, 2, and 3. It's just going to be about order. But Minnesota, they're 11 games left. They have the 21st easiest schedule left. They still play Denver twice. They play Phoenix twice, LA, and Houston. And then their easy games, they play Detroit, Washington, Toronto, Atlanta, Chicago. So they have an easier schedule left as well. So we're going to be watching out for that top 3 seed in the West race with Denver playing amazing, OKC doing OKC things in Minnesota, even without Anthony Towns, still be able to win some games. And then you have everything else. After that, 4 through everything else is just could be chaos. The LA Clippers were once in the top 3 battle or making it a top 4 battle in the West, trying to get that 1 spot, but they have not been playing well since coming back from All-Star break, and now they're not even safe at number 4. They're only right now safe at 4 because the Pelicans lost last night. But yesterday, the Clippers were the 5 seed yesterday. The Pelicans and Clippers, The Pelicans have the tiebreaker over the Clippers. The Clippers are only a half game above the Pelicans. They're at 44-27. They have not been playing really good basketball as of recently after dominating throughout the middle of the season. They come down to earth. Things aren't looking great over there, and this is the wrong time to be struggling because now they're going into a playoff series, not playing at their best basketball. It's going to be really tough, and are they going to have home court? Because right now, Pelicans and Clippers are a playoff matchup right now. And the Pelicans have had the Clippers number in the regular season. They have the tiebreaker. So not having home court advantage also is a big thing, especially in a tough series like that against the Pelicans. So the Clippers really have to start getting it together. They're sitting at 4, and the Pelicans, as before mentioned, sitting at number 5 at 44-28. Only a half game behind the Clippers, and they own the tiebreaker over the Clippers. Looking at schedules left for the Clippers, they have the 10th hardest schedule left. So they play Denver, Cleveland, Orlando, Phoenix twice, Sacramento, and Philly. Pretty tough games left. And they're easy games. They play Utah twice, and they play Charlotte. But for the Pelicans, it is not easier. Pelicans have the 7th hardest schedule left in the league. The Pelicans, they play Boston, Milwaukee, Orlando, Phoenix twice, Sacramento, and the Lakers. And then their easy games, they play San Antonio and Portland. So both these teams have hard schedules left. So we'll see what happens there. But the Clippers definitely have to get it together. And the Pelicans are on the other end. The Pelicans are streaking right now and playing some of their best basketball. I talked about Zion, how well he's playing in a video the other day. If you missed that, you can go back and check that one out. But yeah, both of these teams kind of going on opposite ends a little bit, And then you have, after that, it's not even safe. Honestly, I actually kind of thought it was kind of safe for New Orleans at 5, but not really, because the Dallas Mavericks are streaking. The Mavericks have climbed up. They've won 5 in a row, and now they're sitting at 6 and only a game behind the Pelicans. So the Mavericks have kind of snuck their way back in there, and the Mavericks could potentially do some more damage and maybe climb up a little bit more. Mavericks have been really streaky since acquiring Gafford and Washington. They won a 7-game win streak, then they won a 4-game losing streak, then they won a 5-game win streak. They've been like streaky, and they're on a hot streak right now. And the good thing about Dallas is they have the 23rd easiest schedule left in the league. So they still play OKC, Sacramento, Miami, Golden State twice, and Houston twice. And then they also play Detroit, Charlotte, and Atlanta. So if Dallas can, do some work, win those easy games, and then maybe take one game each from Houston and from Golden State, maybe they can win the Miami game and stuff like that. Like, if Dallas keeps this hot stretch going, they have a really good chance of potentially catching New Orleans, maybe even the Clippers. Who knows? If the Clippers can't find their way together, the Dallas Mavericks are not that far. They're only a game and a half behind the Clippers for the number 4 spot in the West, with 10 games left. So that can get crazy. And then you still have the Sacramento Kings and Phoenix Suns are tied for 7 and 8. The Kings are a game behind the Mavericks, which was a big game last night. The Mavericks blew out the Kings in that game, which could be big for seeding. The Kings fall down to the play-in, and the Kings don't have it much easier. The Kings have the 3rd hardest schedule left in the NBA. The Kings, they still have to play Boston, OKC, the Clippers, New Orleans, New York, and they play Dallas one more time, so that's going to be a big game. And then they play Portland, Brooklyn, and Utah as their easy games, but Sacramento does not have an easy schedule left. Neither does the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are also 42 and 30. They've been really struggling. And the thing about the Suns is the Suns have the hardest schedule left in the NBA. It's crazy. I was looking at it yesterday, and I was like, preparing for this video, and I was like, whoa. The Phoenix Suns have the hardest. Their last 10. Here are the Phoenix Suns' last 10 games in order, not just by team. These are the order. The Phoenix Suns' next 10 games, last 10 games. They play in Denver tonight. Then they play in OKC on Friday. Then they play in New Orleans. Then they come back home for 4 games. They play Cleveland, Minnesota, New Orleans again, and the Clippers. And then they're on the road the last 3 games. They play the Clippers again in LA, in Sacramento, in Minnesota. They play 10 teams. All 10 teams are like playoff teams. They don't get any more easy games. All their easy games are done with that last back-to-back in San Antonio was their last easy games, and they lost to San Antonio without Victor Wembanyama on Monday. All of these 10 games are against good playoff teams. I mean, they got to play Denver, Minnesota. They got to play Denver, OKC, Minnesota, and the Clippers twice. Or Minnesota twice and the Clippers twice. Those are 6 games against the top 4 teams in the Western Conference. That might still be playing because they're still trying to fight for the number 1 seed. So you got 6 games against the top 4 teams in the West. I say against the top 5 because then they also play New Orleans twice. So out of their last, 10 games, 8 of those 10 games are against the top 5 teams in the West. And all 5 of those teams are still going to be playing because they still need, to get their seeds and stuff. And then the next 2 games, you got to play Sacramento, who's trying to fight out of the play-in, and then you got to play Cleveland, who's trying to fight to save the 3 spot. So Phoenix has a hard, really hard schedule left in front of them, and they're not playing that well. So Phoenix really has to lock in and do something here, because this could get really ugly for Phoenix. So they're sitting at number 8, and then you got the LA Lakers behind them at number 9. They've won 4 in a row. They're only 2 games behind Phoenix and Sacramento for the 7 and 8 spot, which would be big because, again, if you're in 7 and 8, you only have to win 1 game. 9 and 10, you have to win 2 games. Just a lot easier. But the Lakers have been playing a lot better. They got an amazing double overtime win last night against the Bucks. What a game from Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves. Come back and win that one. And the Lakers have an easy schedule left. Lakers have the 25th easiest schedule left. They still play Minnesota, Cleveland, New Orleans, Indiana, and they have one more battle with Golden State. And then they also play Washington, Toronto, Brooklyn, and they play Memphis twice. So Lakers have a chance potentially to stay at 9, or depending on how Phoenix and Sacramento do, maybe even catch up and be a 7 and 8. So the Lakers are kind of in that middle. Most likely they're probably going to be stuck at 9, because every time they've tried to make a jump and go higher, the teams above them, like Dallas, Sacramento, start winning games, and it's like, damn, we can't really catch up. But now, this could be a time where they could catch up, And then, before, when I was talking about the 15, in my video I talked about 15 games left, who's going to make it, and all this time about the West, I thought the 10 in the West were locked up. But that's not the case anymore. The Warriors are sitting at 10, at 37 and 34. They've been struggling recently. They got a win against Miami last night. But the Houston Rockets came out of nowhere, and now the Rockets are only a game behind the Warriors for the last play-in spot. They've won 9 games in a row. They're over 500, and they have been on an absolute tear. And there's a report that Alperen Sengun maybe could come back at the end of the year. So the Rockets have a chance to catch the Warriors and make the Warriors miss the play-in, which is crazy. Looking at both schedules left, the Warriors have the schedule advantage. The Warriors have the 5th easiest schedule left in the league. So Golden State, they play New Orleans, they play Dallas twice, which is going to be big games. Then they play Orlando, the Lakers, and the Rockets. So they play each other, which is going to be a huge game. And then they also play San Antonio, Charlotte, Portland, and Utah twice. So they have an easier schedule. They still play against the bottom 3 teams in the West 3 times. But again, they also have to play New Orleans, they have to play Dallas twice, and they're streaking. They have to play the Rockets, which is going to be a big game, and all that stuff. But the Rockets are on the opposite end. The Rockets have the 5th hardest schedule left in the NBA. They're 11 games. The Rockets still have to play OKC, Minnesota, the Clippers. They also play Dallas twice. They play Orlando and Miami, and then they also play Utah twice and Portland once. So schedule-wise, the Warriors have the advantage in terms of schedule strength, but the Rockets have been absolutely dominating as of recently. They've won 9 in a row, and now they're making it interesting. Because honestly, I thought, okay, the 10 in the East, 10 in the West, all the play-in and playoff spots are locked in. We just got to know what the seeding is. But now, the Houston Rockets playing like this, it's like, oh, shoot. Will the Warriors not even make the play-in? Steph Curry missing the play-in? And the Houston Rockets get in there? That would be very crazy to watch. But we got 10 games, about 10, 11-ish games left for every team. This is the home stretch of the season right now. This is where you got to prove it right now in your season, what seeds you are. So the West, again, kind of recapping what to look out for. The top 3 in the West, Nuggets, OKC, Minnesota, who's going to finish there. The chaos in the middle, with the Clippers, Pelicans, Mavericks, Kings, Suns, that 4 through 8 match. And then also the Lakers, can they catch up? And the battle for the last spot, the Warriors and Rockets are going to be battling it out. And they play one more time, and that's going to be a really fun game to watch that we're all going to be locked into. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you enjoyed the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications to all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. And yeah, join the membership. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.